Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to our 197th weekly webcast. Now, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is a 2-hour AMA, meaning you can ask me anything. You can ask me investing questions. You can ask me finance general questions, personal questions, career questions. And my goal here is to humbly help you take your career to the next level. Now, I've got something I want to show you right here. Maybe use this angle here might work, eh? Yeah. All right. So I'm adding something new to my MBA degree program. So in my MBA degree program, there's 5 main sections. There's an entrepreneurship section. There's a finance and accounting section. There's also sales, marketing, communications. There's economics management strategy, and then there's personal growth, where I teach how to accomplish a lot more every day. I'm adding a 6th section now. So if anybody has bought my MBA program in the past, or you're going to buy it, I'm adding a 6th section, which is technology. And I'm going to teach you how to program from scratch. Now, I was a programmer for years back in the 90s when I worked at Accenture. Sorry, it's a great company. And so I've programmed a lot. I program on the side now as well. And I want to show you how I'm going to teach your program. Okay, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So when you program, and we're going to start with Microsoft Excel. And I'm going to show you what it looks like here in Excel when I teach you coding as well. But when you code, and I've never seen anybody teach with props with programming, and this will make it a lot more fun. But when you program, you create what's called a sub in Excel. Okay, and then in the middle, there's a lot of different variables, functions, formulas, etc. And then you've got the end sub right here. Okay. Then what you do is each subroutine, okay, you put in a module. Okay, and you can have multiple modules or subs in a module, and you can have functions as well. And so then you put everything into a project. Okay, and you can have multiple modules in a project with multiple subs as well. So I'm trying to teach this in a fun way. Now, what I'm also doing, in addition, I have tons of other props I want to teach you how to program with. So in business, we tend to want to think like the other person at the end of the table, always. And so when we code, we need to think like the computer as well, from a program perspective. If you meet me in real life, I'm a tiny man. Okay, awful dad humor. I've used that before. Sorry. All right, but you start with an object, and you manipulate the object. And so a computer will basically take the object, then think about the smaller objects on the object, and then manipulate that thing. So if a computer wanted to turn this eraser here to green, the computer would go big to small color. It would go pencil.eraser.color equals green. So I'm going to teach it that way. Now, let me really quickly show you what it's going to look like. I've got a beta version right now running in the background. Let me tee this up. And when Bill Gates, I remember I went to tons of his presentations. Whenever he used to do betas, he'd always have the system crash. Hopefully it doesn't happen to me here. Okay, so the way I'm going to teach it is I'm going to start teaching you all programming in Microsoft Excel, and then we're going to move on to Python. Okay, now this here, again, is going to be added to the MBA program. If you've already bought it or you will buy it, it'll be added to the end in a massive, massive new section, which is going to be at several hundred hours when it's done, which will be programming in many languages, okay? So that this is always up to date. So I'm setting it up so there's beginner, intermediate, and genius, and all track, like I've done with my many other files I provide you with. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you from a high-level perspective basic and more advanced Excel functions, including color variants, every single icon. I'm also going to teach you every single formula here. But the most important part of this, and the largest part of this, is actually going to be over here, which is where I teach you programming from scratch. Okay, and so I'm going to visualize everything when I teach it. And the great thing about starting, and we'll start here first with Visual Basic for applications within Excel, and then eventually we'll move on to Python and other programming languages. And I was a programmer for years, and on the side I still code. I'm a nerd, I know. I don't have much spare time. But basically I teach it with lots of different icons, images here. I'll teach you how to build functions, etc. And within Excel, what happens is when you record yourself doing a macro in Excel, it actually, meaning if you're dragging and dropping items on a screen or entering stuff in a cell, etc., different rows and columns, what happens is the code is created for you. And then you can go and manipulate the code, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's basically a visual way to learn programming, and it's not that different from Python and other programming languages that I will be teaching you. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I've taught all major business concepts in the program, and I love to teach. And also, the reason I'm doing it is I'm thinking about my kids longer term too. So this is when they were younger. My oldest son, Andrew, he's actually now at Berkeley doing engineering, and he's taking a Python course, which is boring him to tears. But the reason I'm doing it is because my kids' jobs and the way that they communicate with each other has not been invented yet. And the same thing with a lot of my students that will want to change careers. And so I'm going to help you leverage technology in order to learn how to program better and take your career to the next level. Yeah. All right. I don't know if I dig this blue on blue. I like to have a blue background, but it's a little bit too much to say all blue. I'm going there anyway. Okay. If there's complaints, let me know, and I will change it back to the color we have here. Yeah. And I had a tie on this morning. I took it off because it clashed big time. And I forgot how to tie a tie. Okay. There we go. I'm back. All right. Let me get to your questions here. And as always, thank you very much for being here. Yeah. In our next class, MBA class, you can sign up right now. Go to harounmba.com and start classes now online like Netflix. But the next gold and platinum class starts Friday, September 30th. It's going to be every Friday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. my time for 1 year. And that's when I teach it live, where there's a couple hundred hours of live Q&A, as well as one-on-one meetings if you're interested in that as well. That's called the Platinum Program. But more importantly, let me get to your questions. That's why we're here. Now, last night I saw that there was a ton of questions that were posted. Please only post them a couple hours before, otherwise they disappear for some reason. So first up, I've got Alex P. Reminds me of Alex P. Keaton, my hero growing up in Canada from Family Ties. He wrote, "Good morning, Chris. How are you?" And then you wrote, "What do you think? What do you think of the advent of employee tracking software? While it may help community results, it seems very intrusive. What are your thoughts?" I hate it. I hate any situation where you have a big company tracking what an employee does, because it basically forces you to not be creative. And I'm just going to turn this camera slider on here while I answer this question. But what I find is that the best quality work we have is in smaller increments. Okay, it's kind of like your first couple hours of work in the day. And so I don't like to force my employees to do 40-hour work weeks. They can work whenever they want to. And tracking you will also make you lose trust in the company, because you won't be as open to share ideas over email or in person, because it's like an Orwellian type 1984 society. So I'm definitely against that. If communists were to teach how to manage people, that's how they teach it. So definitely against that. I don't like that at all. Yeah. Next up, Daniel wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hey, man. I'm working in audit and assurance while pursuing an ACCA. After I get my charter, I want to do a CFA and switch to finance without doing the latter in terms of career and pay. Please advise." Yeah, so I would say you can start networking right now if you want to get into the finance industry. I've got a lot of students of mine in my MBA program and outside of my MBA program that have changed careers using the methodologies that I teach. But the bottom line is you have to aggressively network. Now, I have one student in my January class from this year, very proud of him. He just got a full-time job offer from Goldman Sachs in New York City in investment banking, making a lot, and if that matters to him. But basically what he's doing is his start classes with all the Harvard MBAs. He's an associate and he has an undergrad and he's halfway through my MBA program. I have other students that have gotten jobs recently at McKinsey, and I know that because McKinsey contacted me to do a background check on one. Also Google, etc., Salesforce, every major company. And you can do it, but you gotta realize, and I say this with love in my heart, that it's all about networking. You know, relationships are more important than product knowledge. And you have to set up a lot of one-on-one meetings, because people want to help you. All you have to do is ask. And at the very beginning of my MBA program in the personal growth track, what I do is I focus on how to help you network on steroids. And this works. I have another student who graduated from my Platinum program last December that just raised $11.5 million by networking. And he raised it from Tim Draper and other venture capitalists. Okay, and so Tim Draper was one of the first investors or early investors in Baidu, SpaceX, as well as Tesla, of course. But the bottom line is it's all about networking. Don't feel that you have to go and get a special piece of paper or a certification. in order to advance your career to the next level. Now, a lot of people have started in the mailroom with a high school education, and they moved on to the corner office. There's so many examples, including the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Sidney Weinberg, who has a high school degree, who started in the mailroom. He was CEO for several decades back, I think in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, yeah, before my time. Partially before my time. I'm born in 1972, yeah. All right. Next up, Renveer wrote, hey, Chris, we talked about how investment companies don't use brokers, but they use a lawyer to put up a contract instead. Yeah, if they're private, okay? And even if you're public, you're going to be using lawyers anyway to create the S1 document or the investment offering memorandum. I'm getting a prop here. So before you invest in any vehicle or before you try to raise money yourself, please make sure to have a lawyer and investment bankers create an investment offering memorandum for you. Now, if you're publicly traded, it's much more elaborate, right? This here is an S1 for Facebook, company I invested in venture capital in my firm years ago, and when it was public as well. So make sure you get a lawyer to do all that stuff for you. And please don't ever, anybody, I'm getting down on my knees. I rarely do this, but I'm going to do this now. Hi. Told you I'm small. Please don't ever start a company without registering it first, okay? Talk to a lawyer for more details, especially when you raise money, because what can happen is if and when you're successful, I should say when you're successful, people will come after you. It's happened to me before as well, and you're protected, you're insulated. Even if you do nothing wrong, lawyers are jerks, yeah, unless you're a civil rights lawyer. And for anybody out there who knows lawyers, I have to ask you a question. Ask them, are you a jerk before law school, or is that something they teach you? Again, it doesn't apply to civil rights lawyers. I love you. Or if you represent me, you're cool, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote, I don't live in the United States, and I would like my investment company to invest in U.S. stocks. How can I proceed? Yeah, anybody can invest in U.S. stocks. You can easily set it up. What you need to do is deal with an online trading service or a prime brokerage firm like a Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs Execution and Clearing did all my back-end processing in my hedge fund. And for my hedge fund, I had a master feeder structure, meaning it was onshore and offshore. My offshore entity was in the British Virgin Islands, BVI, because it's cheaper than Caymans. So you could set up in BVI if you wanted to. And there's many other offshore locations you could do it for a cheaper price than Caymans. Yeah. Okay. And then Renveer said, my question is, do we still put up contracts to short? Yeah. So whenever you short a stock or buy a stock, you've already signed a contract with your brokerage firm when you sign the paperwork, okay? And it's a little bit more advanced when you do options paperwork as well, or when you click the I agree button to that thing that I never read, but I agree to. Yeah. Okay. But what happens is the prime brokerage firms will take care of all the infrastructure in terms of the physical, or I should say digital transfer of shares when you're shorting and borrowing a stock and paying fees for it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I've got Nintendo. How are you? And Nintendo, thank you for joining my channel as well. You're the first person I've seen that's had it for 2 months. I launched it last month, which is why your trophy is blue there. Thank you. And by the way, I gotta go there, man. In my MBA program, in one of the lectures, I teach about economics and strategy, and the way I do it is I use Super Mario Maker 2, and I created a number of levels, and I teach you investment frameworks that way as well, or economic frameworks as well. Made it a dry topic pretty fun. It's me, Mario. Yeah. All right, next. So Nintendo wrote, hey, Chris, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you. I'm 100% recovered now from my illness this past summer. I feel amazing. I'm going to the gym again, putting on muscle again because I lost someone out when I was sick. It was awful. But I feel great. Thank you. Thank you. And I had COVID and then pneumonia and then something else as well. But it's completely gone in hindsight. I wish I had gotten the booster shot. I did not. I only got the 2 Pfizer shots. Yeah. But I will get the next booster. Yeah. Okay, so you wrote here, what do you think of a small company going public, meaning a market cap between $2 and $15 million? Yeah, you probably won't be able to do it on the major exchanges. You have to be a lot bigger than that as well, and you have to be in business for more than just a couple of years. You could do it on a smaller exchange, but the problem with that is your stock won't be that liquid, right? So you'd see massive swings in the share price, depending on if the broader market or the sector your company is in is seeing a lot of volatility as well. I recommend not doing that. I only recommend going public on the major exchanges in major countries. Otherwise, I would stay private and I would raise capital from venture capital investors. But before that, raise money from high net worth investors, something I teach my students about. My students have been successful with it as well, and I'm so proud of them. All right, next up, Daniel wrote, good morning, Chris. Hey, Daniel, how are you? I got the Elton John song, Daniel, my mind now. Great song. You wrote, greetings from Bangkok. Awesome. And I made a vlog not too long ago on how George Soros shorted the Thai baht. I made $1 billion that day. If you want, you can check it out as well. I don't think he's very popular there. Now, you wrote here, you say a wealthy investor is preferred to dealing with venture capitalists. Do you handle the investor expectations you need for attention and explain the startup risk? Yeah, so there's a lot to it. So failing to plan is planning to fail, because if you don't write a thorough business plan first, people won't take you seriously. And you might actually end up losing money as well, or the probability of you losing money goes up a lot. A lot of people, the most important decision they make in their life, one of the most important ones I should say, is starting a company. And they go with their gut. They think of qualitative measures, but they don't build out a financial model. So in my MBA program, in the third semester, what we do, my January students started this past week, is I've got a venture capital boot camp where I teach you, based on my experience, investing in venture capital companies, raising money myself, as well as teaching at Stanford. I was part of the curriculum, brought in as a guest lecturer to help mentor a lot of MBA students with their startup business models. So I teach you all this stuff in the third semester in my MBA program. If you're in the silver program, watching it online like Netflix, you can fast forward now to E3-1, Entrepreneurship Semester 3, Class 1, to take a look at that. Yeah, but I always recommend raising money initially from high net worth investors. And people want to help you. All you have to do is ask. I promise you they want to help you. And if I told you that if you set up 100 investor meetings using the methodologies I teach in my MBA program and general networking, if I told you you did that you're guaranteed to raise a ton of money and watch your career take off, would you do it? Of course you would. You got to follow through, because as Mark Cuban said, you only have to be right in business one time. Now, if you want to learn a lot more about networking, let me see if I can go over here. You can go to my website, harounmba.com, and if you scroll down to the bottom here, my mouse is not working as well as it used to. All the way down to the bottom, you can download this book here on how to network, as long as you're not a robot. Yeah. And if you want, by the way, if you want to set up a one-on-one call with me, if you guys are interested in joining the Gold or Platinum program, then what you can do is just go here to Buy MBA, and then September 30th Gold and Platinum programs. And you'll see a link here to set up a call with me for a 20-minute one-on-one to discuss the difference between Platinum, Gold, and Silver, if you want to join. But just set it up if you're interested in joining the Gold or Platinum program and you want to talk about it if you have questions. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, next up, Mateo. Hey, Mateo, how are you? I have a Matthew, my son Matthew as well. It's a great name. It's actually Hebrew, I learned, for gift from God. Yeah. So Mateo wrote, hey, Chris, I'm from the information technology sector. Would you suggest investing in Vusa.mi, as it's listed on the Italian Stock Exchange, instead of Vusa.l, to avoid currency exchange commission? Yeah. So I in my MBA program, I provide you with a 100-step framework for analyzing any company. I never tell my students what to buy or how to fish. I always provide them with a fish. But when you talk about, and this is just making a lot of noise, I can turn this off here. When you talk about currency risk, it all depends on the company itself. So when you read the annual report for a company or listen to the quarterly results, if there's massive FX moves in the dollar, euro, etc., they usually disclose that in their press releases and during the Q&A section during their earnings calls. Okay, and if they don't disclose it, you can always go to their annual report and just do a search in Chrome or whatever, or a PDF. Do a search on FX exposure or currency hedging, because a lot of them hedge that way. Yeah. All right, but you will get hit by FX. So, for example, if you buy SAP, a great German software company, which is listed on the Deutsche Börse in Germany, if you buy it there, or you buy it in the United States, it's listed as an ADR, American Depositary Receipt, with the ticker SAP if you buy it in New York. If you buy SAP in Germany or New York, the arbitrageurs out there, because it's very liquid, are going to make sure that FX is basically ensures that the market cap of both companies is the same. Yeah. All right. Okay. And then you wrote here, the S&P 500 has such a low average volume that I don't know if I would be able to do a bid-ask spread. Okay, I know what you're talking about. You're probably talking about some sort of less liquid ETF for the S&P 500. So what I would do is just buy the S&P 500 index if you can. And let me show everybody this. And I'm going to teach you guys a really simple way to make $2 million. Okay, actually $2.8 million if you have a kid. So every country in the world, for the most part, allows you to invest money tax-free every year as part of your retirement savings program. So in the United States, it's called a 401k, and you can put about $20,000 into it every year and let it grow tax-free. And they increase that by $500 per year. Now, if all you did yourself was you maxed out, I know it's tough to do it every year, especially early on, but if you maxed out your 401k 20 grand retirement every year, and all you did was you threw it into the S&P 500 ETF, and I'm going to show you which one to buy in a minute. If all you did was you threw it in the S&P 500 ETF, then in 20 years you'd have over $1 million. And I say that because historically the average return on the S&P 500 annually is 10.5%. So if you invest 20 grand every year, for 20 years in relatively low risk ETF, the S&P 500, you will have over $1 million. Now, if your spouse does it over 20 years as well, you'll have over $2 million. And again, I'll show you that exact ETF to buy in a second with the lowest fees. Now, let's say that you're married and 2 years down the road, you have a kid. And in 18 years after that, you want your kid to think about going to college. It's his or her choice, of course. Then what you can do is there's a better way to save even than a 401k. What you can also do is you can save in the Educational Savings Account program of the U.S. government. It's a 529. And a lot of other countries have a similar thing to the 529. Do a search on 529 equivalent in your country. But you can invest $15,000 to $16,000 a year tax-free for your kids' education. And so if all you did was you put that in the S&P 500 ETF at a 10.5% return for 18 years, the 15 to 16K per year, then that's close to $800,000 in 18 years. It all adds up. And so now you've got a net worth of $2.8 million by saving that amount every single year. That doesn't even include saving for your house, which is a better investment than the S&P and other investment classes as well. Yeah. Now, let's go and take a look at the... If you have questions about that, let me know. I know I'm going to get questions today about the Biden administration's ruling on providing education or money back for loans and stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to finance.yahoo.com together. Okay, and this here is the go-to ETF. If you're not sure where to put money, just throw it in what I'm about to show you. Okay, there's two of them. There's the SPY, and there's also the VOO, VOO, and they have the exact same fees. Now, the fee structure is as follows. So we go here to profile, and we can see here that the annual expense report, actually it's higher now on the S&P. It's 0.09. I thought it was 0.03. This means for every $100 you invest in the S&P 500, you're going to pay 9 pennies every year in fees, which is not bad. Let's look at the other one. Let's look at the VOO, which is the exact same thing. I think it's offered by another ETF company, Vanguard. Yeah. So this is the exact same thing. We're going to go to profile. And if we go to profile, wow, okay. So the VOO is at 3 pennies per $100 you invest per year, which is a steal. It's a great deal. Vanguard's a great company. Now, whenever you look at an ETF like this or any investment class, I always want you to also go to the summary tab here to see if it's liquid, meaning can you get in and out if need be, volume-wise. And the average volume is 5 million shares times about $400. So yeah, you can get in pretty fast. Last thing I want to show you when you're doing research on ETFs here on Yahoo Finance is I want you to go to the holdings to find out the breadth and depth of what this investment is. Now, the United States economy has 12 sectors, okay, GICS codes they call them, which are summarized right here. The biggest sector, which keeps getting bigger and bigger, is technology, okay? Then healthcare, which is getting bigger post-COVID, then financial services, consumer, etc. And so if you scroll down, you'll see these are the biggest positions within the S&P 500. It's no surprise that most of them are tech companies. If you want to invest in Brazil or any other economy, you can also find an ETF ticker for that as well. And I'll show you exactly how to do a search on these in 1 second on another website before I take more questions. So this here is the iShares Brazil. So you can invest in Brazil instead of buying single shares in Brazilian companies. You can buy them directly here instead of going to the Bovespa. So right here we see the average volume is 24 million shares times $32. Very liquid. Let's go quickly to the profile to see fees. Now the fee structure here is going to be a lot higher because this doesn't trade as much as the S&P 500 does. So the fee structure here is 57 pennies for every $100 you invest. Last thing I'll show you here is if we go to the holdings, Brazil is a very natural resources rich economy, kind of like Canada and Australia. And when natural resources go up in price, the Brazilian real, the Canadian dollar, and the Australian dollar go up a lot as well. So right here we can see energy is a massive component, and so is basic materials. Now, last thing I want to show you before I take more questions is the best source to do research on ETFs. So what you can do is you can go to a website called ETFDB, that's ETF database, and the company was recently acquired by Verify. But just go to ETFDB. And you can do a screener you can look at 5,000 or 6,000 different ETFs. You can look at ETFs by geography here, click on a map to see all the ETFs for each individual company. Now, if anybody has additional questions about that, please let me know, and thank you as always. I'm gonna get some coffee. Yeah. I'm drinking bulletproof coffee. So there's butter in this. There's whey protein as well. It's good. All right. Okay, and you have a question about bid and the ask spread. You can go to any brokerage website and see the difference between the bid and the ask spread. They show it there. If anybody's confused about bid and ask is basically where you can buy the stock and where you can sell it. The easiest way to think about it is if you want to buy it, you get screwed. You always have to pay the higher price. If you want to sell it, you get screwed. You pay the lower price. And the reason I say it that way is because the bid and ask is confusing for a lot of people depending on what side of the trade you're on. Just think of yourself as getting the worst deal. The more liquid the stock is, the narrower the spread is between the bid and the ask. Yeah, that's why you don't want to invest in illiquid stocks. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and in terms of finding a brokerage to be able to buy stocks, you said you're having issues there in Italy. So I'm going to answer this question generically to apply to everybody, as I always try to do humbly in this webcast. So what I recommend doing if you're in a country and you want to buy stocks, you've never done it before, I want you to call the 5 biggest banks in your country, and I want you to ask all 5 on the phone, what's the name of the brokerage firm you're affiliated with or you own if they have one. Then call all 5 of them and figure out the lowest fees on all 5. And the fee should be next to 0. All right, next up, I've got Viveki. Hey, Viveki, how are you? And I had a girlfriend named Viveka years ago. Yeah, I was in at McGill. Yeah, and I know a lot of Viveks, which are guys. But you went by Viveki. You wrote, "Hi Chris, can you brief how many consumer tech startups keep raising funds every quarter or after very short intervals? What is the basis of this funding and funding raise?" Yeah, you can always go to crunchbase.com to see the latest trends and figures when it comes to investment raising, but it's going down a lot. And the reason why there's a lot fewer new venture capital funds being founded is because rates are going up. And so if rates are high, it's easier just to keep our money in the bank or buy treasury bonds or government bonds than it is to actually put money in the stock market or in a venture capital backed startup. Now, in the early 1980s, we had inflation close to 20% in America and interest rates were close to 20%. It was awful. As a result, hardly any companies were founded at that point in time. And that's why whenever you start a company, you want to raise as much money as you can when you can. And again, I teach you how to raise money in my MBA program. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. And for those of you who want to do Zoom, after I go through these questions, if there's time, I'll move on to open up a Zoom as well, so we can do Brady Bunch style Q&A. I don't know if anybody got that reference, but I'm old. Yeah, it was an old TV show, an oldie but a goodie. All right. Let's see. Okay, next up, Manas. Hey, Manas, how are you from India? Wrote, good morning. My dear mentor, Habibi, you wrote, thank you, Habibi. And I learned that Habibi is only for guys. I didn't know that. It's an Arabic thing, for guys. Habibti is for women. So good morning, all my Habibis and Habibtis. Yeah. And then you wrote, oh my God, we're almost at the 200 episode of the webcast. I know, it's crazy, eh? Amazing. And I remember when I first started, I had one little webcam. Yeah, on my laptop. It was awful, but it was okay. It was fun. And you wrote, I've been here for 122 of them, and it's a privilege to be here. I promise. Thank you for everything. Just a big thank you. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. It's always good to see you, man. Always good to see you. Okay. All right. Cool. And Kelsier, thank you so much for that those comments are helping other people with valuation questions. And then you said you're going to join my Platinum MBA. Awesome. I'd love to have you. Thank you. And there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee that goes all the way up until 30 days after we start September 30th. So if you buy now, you get your money back all the way up until October 30th. And there's only a limited number of positions. There's not that many left actually in Platinum. But Gold, you can wait until the last second. Yeah. Okay. And then Manas wrote, Facebook lost $2 billion in making something with the metaverse. Is that an indicator that something new, decentralized company, or maybe a group will be leading the way? Yeah, nobody knows what the metaverse is going to look like yet, but it's going to be self-fulfilling. There's so much money going into the sector that it will matter. And so if we look at the Facebook product, and I've got it right here. So I've got the visors down oh, here it is here. This thing here, it's only sold about, between 10 and 15, all units, 10 and 15 million units, which is nothing from a penetration perspective, given the fact that there's over 2 billion people on the internet right now. So I think what's happening is they're way too early to the game right now. It is going to become self-fulfilling. You have so many companies racing to get into the sector. And the reason it's going to become self-fulfilling is because the beauty of the metaverse, longer term, of course, is that it's a platform. And you want to own the road, meaning the platform. So Facebook owns the platform, the quintessential platform or road, so to speak, for social networking stuff, right? They don't make any social networking content or media stuff. They're just a platform. They're a toll keeper. They charge the cars. The same thing with eBay, with auctions, if people still use eBay. Same thing with LinkedIn. Same thing with Snapchat, YouTube, etc. YouTube doesn't create content, but they own the road. And so by the same token, the same thing is going to happen with the metaverse as well. Now, we haven't had a massive new dynamic shift or strategic inflection point with internet technologies in years. So Internet 1.0 was back in the 90s, which was just static banner-based advertising business models. Then in the early 2000s, or by 2007, we had the App Store and more dynamic web pages, etc. And now what's next is something a little bit more virtual. Yeah. The problem is the technology is not there right now. And for all of us that play video games like sports games, FIFA, cricket, whatever it might be online through EA, it looks realistic, except the faces don't look realistic at all. Nobody has nailed that. So it's going to take a lot of time. But there's a big market for it because just doing Zoom meetings through COVID was depressing, man, because it was all two-dimensional. But if we kind of felt like longer term that we were actually in a 3D or 4D Zoom meeting, it would be more fun and more engaging once they nail the face detection and the graphics for the face, which they haven't yet. And I think if Zoom just put out a press release saying that we're going to go into the metaverse and make a metaverse version of Zoom, the market cap would jump 50% within a week. And I hope they're looking into that because Zoom is kind of getting old now. Yeah. But it'll happen. And all the major companies are focused on it, but they haven't succeeded. Like Sony has got the PSVR. They don't release too many numbers on it, but it's been more than 5 years since they released it. So it's not doing as well as they anticipated, although it's my favorite one. The same thing with Microsoft with HoloLens. It really hasn't worked out well. And the same thing with Google with Magic Leap and Google with Google Glass. Remember, people used to wear those things, you call them glass holes, walking around them because they're recording everything. So I think the company that's going to nail it is Apple. And so I looked at the patents of Apple, and they're publicly disclosed. And Apple, early next year, it looks like, is coming out with their own AR, VR product, and another one the year after that. And so I think Apple has a chance to kind of figure it out. The problem is also, I get very dizzy doing this. Now, if you want to see what it's like in my MBA program and the metaverse side of it, which I've been beta testing, I did a webcast earlier this year that was all metaverse based. And you can go and watch a replay of that. Just go to mbametaverse.com. Yeah. Can't believe that URL is free. But look, I'll make a lot of mistakes. I'll figure it out the longer term. Yeah. All right. But Facebook, yeah, they're $2 billion is nothing for them. They're going to basically bet the company on the metaverse. Heck, they renamed themselves Meta as well. Yeah. And they had to rename themselves because I think the Department of Justice is going to break them up very soon, right? Into separate companies, Facebook, WhatsApp, etc., Insta. And the crazy thing about Facebook is 40% of people on the planet, 40%, use at least one Facebook app every single month. It's crazy. Yeah, unbelievable. They will get broken up. That's why they rename themselves Meta. So it's easier to break it up. Same thing with Google. They renamed themselves Alphabet years ago. So they can be split up into two companies because Google owns the two biggest search engines in the world, Google and YouTube. Yeah, but they're a great corporate citizen, and I'm sure that they've really focused on democracy over the years, which is probably why the U.S. government stayed away from them, especially because they pulled out of China in January of 2011, which is the right call. All right, Lala wrote, "Hi friend, good day from Brooklyn. Great to see you. I have a cousin named Sarah. I called her Lala growing up. Great to see you." And then Manos wrote, I'm always amazed at how Bitcoin works. Nakamoto is no more there apparently, but still is worth $1 trillion in assets. How is that possible and who runs it? Yeah, so we don't know for sure. And so people speculate that the person that founded or entity that founded Bitcoin back in January 2009 was a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. But we don't really know if that person exists. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows. And Newsweek, about 7 years ago, they did a cover story. They thought they found this person. It was this poor Japanese dude that was living in Arizona. He just had that name, and the media was all over him. He was like, leave me alone. Yeah, poor dude. All right, moving on to Ahmed. Hey, Ahmed, how are you? He wrote, hello, Chris. When you change the camera view, your mic stops working. Oh, shit. Other than it's looking and sounding good. Thank you for that, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. Let me double check it, see if it works. Test. All right, test. Let me know. All right. So this is give me a little bit of feedback, guys. Here. Okay. So this camera angle works. This is number 1. Number 2. Let me know if number 2 works. This here is number 3. Let me know if number 3 works. And this here is number 4. Let me know if number 4 works. If any of those did not work, let me know, please. Or if you only heard the number 1, 3, and 4 or something. Yeah, thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah. Week 197, I still make mistakes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 4, the volume is down. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, number 4 is down. Okay, I'm going to show you behind the scenes how I'm going to fix this. So I use a product called Wirecast. It's like using OBS. So number 4 is right here. I gotcha. The volume is lower. Okay, so I'm going to go here into the levels here. And it's like Adobe, right? You got different layers right here. Scarlet. And I am going to jack this up here. Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I got to boost the volume. So give me 1 second, guys. Okay, so here it's at 100%. Okay, here it's at 100%. 1 second, guys. 1 second, please. Stick with me here. Sorry about this. And if you have questions about my setup, let me know as well, guys, please. Okay, so we got it 135. I jacked up here to 135, but here I did not. Okay, I got it. Okay, so I'm going to jack this up to 135 here, and I'll try that again, and bingo, this should be the same volume as this, which should be the same volume as this. Sorry about that. Okay. That was the most Canadian comment ever. Sorry about that. Yeah. It's not sorry, Americans. It's sorry. It's not a boot. It's not about. It's a boot. Okay. Thank you for that feedback, guys. Okay, great. Okay, Christina, thank you. She said the volume is normalized now. Sorry about that. Damn it. Okay. Kills me. All right. All right, next up, Lala wrote, hey, Chris, will we learn how to use Excel in the program? Absolutely. Yeah, every little aspect of it. Yeah, I'm creating the most comprehensive Excel curriculum that's ever been created. I'm going through every single formula, coding, everything from scratch. I love it. It's so much fun. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Renveer wrote, Chris, I got my A-level results lately. Congratulations. For those who are not familiar with A-level, I think it's something you see mainly in England. It's advanced exams. And then you wrote, I got D's and 1 C. Okay. My parents want me to do another exam, which is in 1 month. I worry I won't be able to get a better result since I didn't do any revisions the last 3 months. Yeah, it depends. Some universities, you don't have to submit all the A levels if you don't want to. Kind of like some universities, you don't have to submit a standardized test score for certain standardized tests. So what I would do is I would look at what universities you want to go to, if you want to go to university at all, and ask them if there's a way to not report A levels or if you need A levels. Yeah. And I'm sorry you're going through that. I know it's hard. Yeah. And it might be because you're not passionate about that subject. And the earlier you find that out in your life, the better. Like for me, I wasn't passionate about medicine. I come from a family of doctors. My dad and my brother, they're radiologists, which means they fix radios. But I wasn't passionate about it. So I teach. And my dad used to say, those who can't do, teach. And those that can't teach gym class. And I suck at sports, so you're all out of luck. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Okay. Then you wrote, you implied here, I don't want to study for those A levels because I'm more passionate about finance. What should I do in your opinion? Yeah. Whew, it's tough. It's tough. It depends on what path you want to take to get into the finance industry. You don't have to go to the top schools to get to the top industry or the top finance companies. You can go to any school if you want to. But you got to network aggressively. Yeah. Tell you what, set up a one-on-one with me. Just you, please. Just go to harounmba.com/FAQ. Set up a one-on-one and remind me in the comments field, and I'll walk through and I'll help you. I promise. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Rita, who's in my platinum program. Hey, Rita, how are you? Good morning, Chris from Melbourne. You're looking great. I love your jacket. It's very classy. The blue suits you 110%. I love blue, man. I love blue. Yeah. I'm glad I changed these lights earlier today back to blue. Thank you. Good to see you. All right. Matthew, good morning. Matthew from Brantford, Ontario, the home of Wayne Gretzky. He's also my platinum program. Great to see you, brother. Next up, Manas wrote, GaryVee, Gary Vaynerchuk, says that we are in Web 2.5 and not, he's right, and not 3.0 because companies like Binance, Coinbase are controlled by someone and it's not decentralized like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, Web 3.0 is not there yet. It's going to take a while, right? It's going to take at least another decade, at least. Now, you could still participate in Web 3.0. If you go to mbametaverse.com, my website, what you can do is you can either put on a headset to watch that webcast, or what you can do is just use the arrow keys to walk around as well. Yeah. Which is what most people do. Yeah. And I get dizzy from using that stuff too. I'm sure Apple will nail it in January. All right. Next up, Avi. Hey, Avi Pro. It's been a while, man. I hope you're doing well. Avi Pro is a pilot based in Sweden. He's also a techie as well. Great to see you. I remember you gave me some advice on Linux a couple of years ago on this webcast. You knew more than I did. Thank you. You wrote, I hope all is great with you and family. Regarding your Excel course and the next Python, will those be able for non-MBA students? If so, how and where? Unlikely. Yeah, it's all going to go in the MBA program. Yeah, thank you. I'm not surprised you asked about that, though, because I remember you're a techie, that's right. Okay, moving on to Ali. Ali wrote, hey, Chris, Ali here. Greetings from Zambia. As always, great to see you, Ali. Great to see you. Okay. And then next up, the question is, Google has a policy that no one can publish and create any anti-Ukrainian content, no matter even if it's a fact and a truth. Why is that so? And will we have a Google in the blockchain? Yeah, a couple questions there. Let me ask the second one first. So the best investments are always platforms. And I thought Ethereum was the Google of cryptos. It's one of my favorite cryptos. I own it for years. But the problem with Ethereum is that there's no limit on supply. So I'm still looking for the Google of cryptocurrencies. I have not found it yet. I'm still looking. Yeah. In terms of Google's policy regarding anti-Ukraine content. So YouTube has a pretty good policy about anything anti-hate. Or anything hateful, I should say. That would be the inverse of hate, yeah. Anything hurtful. I think they do a great job. Yeah, they're not perfect, but I think they do a great job at that. In terms of anti-Ukraine content, I've not seen anything like that. They're usually pretty objective. I'm sure if somebody from Ukraine did something that wasn't ethical, they wouldn't block that video or story from coming out. Yeah. Now, YouTube is very ethical. And in YouTube's S1 filing, I remember when Larry and Sergey did the IPO roadshow through a Dutch auction, which was a little bit arrogant. I remember that back in the fall of 2004. They kept saying that their mantra for the company is don't be evil, don't be evil, don't be evil. And Sergey Brin gets it. Sergey was actually born in communist Russia. And that's one of the reasons why Google pulled out of China in January 2011. And I feel bad, but I remember at the time I went long Baidu, short Google. It was a great pair trade for about 6 months. But Sergey did the right thing. And the reason Google pulled out of China in January 2011 is because of censorship. Yeah, it was the right call. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have not been broken up yet either. All right. And this just ran out of batteries. Oh, it works now. Okay, good. All right. Next up, I have got Eric. How are you? Great to see you. Eric's in my silver MBA. Eric wrote, there's a growing movement to boycott 5G phones and technology. There will be a lot of damage done before the dangers become common knowledge. Check out I'm Not Sam. SAM is the test dummy name. Yeah, I've never noticed the difference between 5G and 4G on my cell phone. I got 5G here as well. I don't know what the ramifications are, but we're fighting the local government here not to put up a cell tower within a mile or so of our house. Yeah, everybody is here. They're not going to get away with it. Yeah. Next up, Kevin wrote, good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Great to see you always, bud. Yeah. And please bring your tax code to the left coast here. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Ta, who wrote, good morning, Prof. Hope all is well. Likewise. Is shorting stocks betting that stocks will go down? And are there alternatives? Yeah, there are. Yeah. So shorting stocks, yeah, it's the opposite of going long. So the way to think about it is this: going long is buying a stock, like going long in American football. Yeah. And now that the euro is below the dollar, it's called soccer everywhere. Okay. I'm just kidding. Don't get mad at me, please. I'm Canadian. Oh my God, I'm gonna get haters now. Totally kidding. I'm Canadian. Okay. I'm gonna hold my Canadian hockey stick here for a bit. Just to remind you guys that was a mean comment. I don't mean to go there. Yeah, but you can going long means you're buying a stock. Going short is the opposite. You make money when it goes down. There's an alternative though, which is buying a put. Okay, and you can buy a put, and buying a put I think is better than shorting a stock, because with a put the most you can lose is a small amount of money that you invested in it. And I've got a prop I'll show you. So what a lot of people do is they create what's called a married put position. So if you own a share of Coca-Cola, ticker KO, and you want to protect that from going down a lot, say you don't want to sell the stocks, you don't want to pay taxes or whatever it is, then you can buy a put, which is like protection. Adorable, right? You can buy protection. And so this will basically protect you from losing money on Coca-Cola for a certain amount of time. Right, for a certain amount of time. And I can talk about that in more detail if you want me to. Now, in the fourth semester of my MBA program, I added a 30-hour elective for those of you in the MBA program where I talk about advanced hedge fund investing, options, derivatives, etc. Yeah, and I provide you with all the spreadsheets and templates you need as well, as always. Okay, and then the question here is, can you explain the difference between GAAP and non-GAAP? Yeah, for sure. Okay, so non-GAAP is what finance people look at. It's the easiest way to value companies, but I'll explain it from scratch. So GAAP is, it stands for General Accepted Accounting Principles, and it's basically what accountants look at. So accountants are very precise, right? They want to see every single accounting item, even non-cash stuff like depreciation. And so accounting is more of a science. It's backwards looking. They look at GAAP. Finance people, like me, they like non-GAAP, which is the same financial statements, except it only includes cash stuff. Like it doesn't include funny money stuff like depreciation. And the reason we like non-GAAP is because it's easier to value companies. So you don't have to back out as much stuff. And non-GAAP also doesn't include one-time events as well, just stuff that's repeatable over time. Yeah. And when companies report earnings 4 times a year, quite often in their earnings press release, they'll release 2 sets of financials. GAAP for the accounting people and non-GAAP. Meaning, they'll produce the income statement, a balance sheet, cash flow statement, right, for non-GAAP or for GAAP for the accountants, and they'll do the same 3 financial statements non-GAAP for the finance people. All right. Next up, Cindy said, "I love the new thumbnails." Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I got some guy on Fiverr, or pardon me, on Upwork to do that. Yeah, and also one of my students, David, who's the best. He's from Indonesia. Yeah. Moving on to Subramanya. Subramanya wrote, "Chris, good morning. Nice to be joining you live through Q&A. Thank you. And I have a couple of friends whose last name is Subramanian. Yeah, great to see you." Alex P. Keaton wrote, "Hi, Chris. A while back, I had a chief information officer from a Chicago company tell me that the publications from Forrester or Gartner had the best information available. What do you think about them?" Yeah, they're great. I like Gartner a little bit better than Forrester. So the best way to think of Gartner and Forrester is they're kind of like consulting firms, like McKinsey, but for tech. And they also publish these great reports. Gartner is the best, though, because they have what's called these magic quadrants, where they chart out which technologies are best, kind of like the Boston Consulting Group matrix. Yeah. But they're both great. And I have friends that work for both of them. And I was a big client of both firms years ago when I worked in the hedge fund industry. Yeah. They help you understand broader tech trends. Yeah. Next up, Ali wrote, just a reminder, you're the best teacher. Oh, thank you. I've ever had. God bless you. I'm a visual person, and your teaching methodology just makes it easy for me to learn and not just to have to memorize stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that came because when I was younger, they diagnosed me with a learning disability. There's a high school I went to. They wanted to fail me in the 6th grade and the 8th grade, and they sent me to this learning disability center, which killed my confidence. But I'm happy in hindsight because I work harder than anybody. It was called Chisholm in Oakville, Ontario, on Lakeshore Road. And then my dad figured out by like the 9th grade, he's like, you know what, maybe Chris just isn't passionate about school. And so my dad bought a Mac for the family, and that changed my life. Yeah. But I'm very visual for that. And I couldn't read when I was younger either. Other students could. And so my mom, she actually created a puppet, which I still have actually in my storage room here, called Miss Finnegan. And she would teach me with a puppet. I love my mama. And then every time I got a question right, she gave me a cookie, like I'm a dog. Yeah. But I love that. Yeah. And it's, oh my God, the Lord works in mysterious ways. It actually looks a lot like this too. It's red. Yeah. Yeah. But we always remember, like when you guys are giving presentations, always use a prop. Because for everybody, when you're in school and you're younger, you don't remember what the teacher said, but you remember the props they use. Like you'll probably, you might forget what I say today, but you'll remember this Coca-Cola dope gold bottle. And so when you're presenting, always use props. And yeah, they can be expensive sometimes, but what you can do is you can buy them over eBay, right? So you can buy a prop like this over eBay, and then after your presentation, sell it back. And so it kind of costs you like a 5% restocking fee. But people remember props. Always whenever you present, use props. I don't care where you do it. If it's somebody's office, etc., bring a prop. Always, always, always. Yeah, it's more fun that way too. Next up, I've got who wrote, "Hey Chris, what according to you are the best use cases for NFTs?" Yeah. So for NFTs, right now, it's just digital art at this point, right? And the best way to think about NFTs, and I'm teaching my MBA students soon how to make them. I'm putting together the curriculum. The best way to think about NFTs is, when you go into somebody's house and on the wall you see a painting, but it's not an original. And in the corner you see it says number 6 of 300, right? It's a limited edition print. That's what an NFT is. A lot of people in the art community are using it as well for limited edition prints as well. The baseball card market as well. I love the industry longer term. I do. I think it's going to be much more relevant in 5 years than it is today. And this is when I'm starting to lick my chops on it because everybody else hates it. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote, "Is blockchain the next technological frontier? And do you think it is best to get into blockchain startups as a blockchain developer?" Yeah. Now, blockchain is, and so when people think of Bitcoin, it's basically a digital ledger, digital blockchain, right? But when you think about Ethereum, it's so much more. It's like a blockchain, not just for trading Ether, the cryptocurrency, but also for doing NFTs. Most NFTs are created on the Ethereum platform as well. And most ICOs, which are like IPOs, but for cryptos, are done there as well. And so blockchain longer term will be used for secure contracts in the long run. Think about DocuSign Online in a more secure way. Yeah. It hasn't taken off yet, though. And neither has Bitcoin payments yet. Yeah. In terms of should you get into blockchain startups as a blockchain developer, only if you're passionate about it. If you love doing what you're doing, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll be successful. But you got to make sure you love it. You have to love it. And there's a guy named Kirill. You can do a search for him online. I think he teaches on Udemy, actually, a blockchain course, like how to create a blockchain, which is above my head. Yeah. Do a search on Kirill, Udemy, blockchain. Yeah. And if you enjoy it, then think about doing it full time. Yeah. And then Ali wrote, I can't wait to upgrade to platinum soon. Oh, cool. So you can help me start a hedge fund in my country. Awesome. Awesome, Ali. Awesome, man. I can't wait to have you. Yeah. Thank you. Next up, Manas wrote, why are founders setting up in Dubai and UAE like Web 3.0 companies are? Is Dubai the new hub for metaverse and Web 3.0, and the government is very supportive and awesome? What are your thoughts? Yeah. So I've been to Dubai a number of times. I raised a ton of money there for my hedge fund venture capital firms in the past. What I would say from talking to some of my friends that live there that are not nationals, and only about 15% of people live there, are allowed to stay there forever. The problem with starting a company in Dubai, if you're not a national, is if you fail, they can kick you out of the country. And that might be a reason why there's not that many risks that are being taken in that area. Now, if they create new legislation or I don't know, programs to incentivize people to start Web 3.0 companies there, I would read the fine print to make sure that if it fails, do you have to leave the country? And talk to a local lawyer there in the United Arab Emirates before doing that too. Yeah. Yeah, but you can't create Silicon Valley overnight. Like a lot of people, like journalists, university chair people, call me and ask me, can you do it? Because I wrote a lot of articles about Silicon Valley in Wired Magazine, VentureBeat, et cetera, years ago. And it can't be done overnight. It's something that takes at least 50 years, right? And it has to be a cultural mentality change as well from a risk-taking perspective. And so in the United States, in Silicon Valley, it wasn't born overnight. The reason it happened was because, and this is a really interesting story actually, back in the early 1960s, America was brokenhearted during the Kennedy administration because Russia, who was the biggest enemy of the United States, or USSR at the time, Russia beat the United States into space, right, with Sputnik. And everybody was worried about the Cold War and whatnot and competing with Russia. American morale was low too in the 60s. And so John F. Kennedy, who I think is probably the best president ever because he created the Peace Corps, he did a lot of great things with civil rights, and he created NASA as well. He created NASA, and his goal was to get somebody on the moon. And they did it by 1969. Now, the way that they did it was they had to figure out, like it was this BAG statement, B-H-A-G, big, hairy, audacious goal, to get a man on the moon within 10 years. And they're like, oh my God, we got to figure it out now. And I love it because it's goal setting with a deadline date. And so what they needed to do is they had to fit 100,000 transistors into the top part of the rocket, the fuselage. And they're like, how the hell are we going to do that? Transistors are big. And so there's this company called Fairchild Semiconductor that got venture capital financing here in Silicon Valley. And they started working on this, and they were successful at it. And America got the first person on the moon before the Soviets, which is awesome. However, there was also a big social movement here at Berkeley, where my son is in school now. This guy, he's there right now. And at Stanford, actually. And so what happened was you had a lot of riots on campus at Berkeley and Stanford in the late 1960s. And the reason there was a lot of riots was partially because of the Vietnam War. And because a lot of these kids that went to university at the time, all they knew in their lives was war. Their grandfather, might have fought in World War I, their mom and dad in World War II, and then their older brothers were getting killed in Vietnam. And so there's a lot of protests. And the protests were really severe, not just at Berkeley, but Stanford. Stanford never talks about this. But what happened in the late 60s, 400 students took over the Stanford administration building. They took it over. It was a takeover. And there's armed guards everywhere. It wasn't like at Kent State in Ohio where 4 people were shot. There's a great Neil Young song about that, of course. But what happened was at Stanford, the students were pissed off at the administration because a lot of this classified government military research was done on campus at Stanford in a department called Stanford Research Institute, SRI. And so they rebranded SRI and pushed it off campus. And what happened there, and also with the peace movement at Berkeley, my kid better not do that, but the peace movement at Berkeley was people were so anti-war, and it was all about free love and sharing everything. And so at Stanford also, you saw a little bit of that, but also because SRI was pushed off campus, Stanford management of the university, they basically said, okay, cool. You guys can start companies here. We're going to share stuff. Teachers, students, you start a company, do well. It's your IP, not ours. And so there's this whole kind of peace and love movement in the late 60s here, which is beautiful in the San Francisco Bay Area with Berkeley and Stanford and other great schools. And it was, free love, whatever, and, sharing everything. And, hey, man, take a risk. Take a risk. And if you fail, don't worry, man. It's cool. Just try again. And so that whole mentality emerged. Failure is cool. Just peace, love, and all that stuff. And sharing stuff like open source software was created at Berkeley. And so was the microchip. A couple of the Intel founders went there. And so you had this cultural movement here on the West Coast. And you also had at the same time a lot of government investments in creating the internet here, et cetera, and all that stuff through ARPANET. And so what happened was, over 50 years up until today, Silicon Valley emerged. And so you can't, in Dubai or United Kingdom or anywhere, you can't create that overnight. It takes decades. Yeah. Sorry, that was kind of a long-winded answer. I'll move on. Yeah. All right. Next up, Stephen wrote, hi, Chris. Good morning from Sunset Beach, North Carolina. Great to see you. First time I've seen you. I hope you join us again. I lived about a year in Charlotte, North Carolina. I loved it. I worked on the merger of Nations Bank and Bank of America back in the 90s when I worked at Accenture, which was fun. I loved it there. Yeah. A lot of great restaurants there. And that's where Homeland was filmed, too, was in Charlotte. Yeah. Moving on to Sarab, who wrote, hi, Chris. I have a question about your course on Udemy on options and crypto. Sure. My question is, what will happen after Ethereum merges? What's your views? Yeah, so Ethereum is moving from something called proof of work to proof of stake. And so basically what that means is proof of work means you can mine a crypto. You set up your own computer, make money by mining it. Proof of stake is a little bit different where you kind of pay to play. So that's what's going to happen. I don't know what the end result is going to be. I would love to see them find a way, and they probably can't do this, find a way to limit the number of ether that can be created so there's a dearth of supply, because the best investments are the ones where supply is limited, like real estate. They're not making land anymore. And the best investments are also platforms, right? Which is why I like Ethereum. But the fact that there's no limit on the ether, ETH, that you can make on that platform is something that does concern me, but I still own it. Yeah. And I have for years. Yeah. Yeah, if you want more details on the advanced stuff for that, reach out to Peyton Kalawahea, who's a guy that graduated from my MBA program last year. Just do a search on my website, on my YouTube channel on Peyton. You'll see I interviewed him there. And go to his YouTube channel as well. He just got a great job in Northern California, a video game company. Yeah. All right, next up, Kelsier wrote, Chris, how do bond traders and JCB betting against Japanese government bonds, how do they think? If the JCB loses in the end of 2022, will the hedge fund industry crush Japanese yen as Soros did in the United Kingdom? Yeah. And Kelsier, I think it was you that posted a ton of questions last night. I saw them before I went to bed, and they all disappear. So you got to always post it like right before we start, please. Yeah, thank you. I don't know. I mean, the Japanese government has a lot of U.S. reserves, right? They're not like other less rich countries in the region. I don't want to talk about which ones, but I don't think that would happen. And I think that the Japan and the United States government have such a great bond, and more so now for strategic reasons, given Taiwan, et cetera, that I think the U.S. government would intervene. Yeah. I would not bet against the Japanese yen. Yeah. But it is sad though, because in Japan, they the population there is I think it's 125 million, and it's expected to drop to 80 million by the year 2060 or so. People just aren't getting married. It's really sad. I love Japan. I'm passionate about Japan. Yeah. I hope they can turn around. Yeah. All right, next up, Manas wrote, why did you stop the daily vlogs? It was cool from a business perspective. Yeah, so what I'm doing is I've never actually created vlogs in the past couple of years with the intent of getting a lot of views and stuff. And so it was kind of a rehashing of this weekly call. And so I have a team, and they're working on other things now. But I have a team, and what they do is, or did for 4 years, was they took my vlog. They would watch this webcast, and they would go through the best questions and create vlogs based on it. And I'm starting to run out of materials. I mean, there's only so many times I can answer questions about, Chris, what are your favorite finance books? Or, what's the difference between GAAP and non-GAAP, or whatever it is. And so we're doing something dramatically different, which is this. We're going to be publishing one vlog every week, 2 or 3 weeks, which is going to be very long, incredibly well edited, and also is going to hopefully lead to, I don't know, going viral, whatever it is. And so what I'm actually doing is I'm taking this course about all the materials here. It's called Channel, that was a pen, Channel Jumpstart. And so you have to apply to get accepted to this course thing here. But basically, there's a guy named Mr. Beast, many of you know, who has 100 million subs. And he partnered with this guy named Daryl Eves, really smart guy, nice guy too. And they wrote a book on YouTube, which is like New York Times or Wall Street Journal bestseller. So I reached out to him and I said, can I hire you? And so I'm doing his program now, along with my staff. And again, we had to apply and stuff, right? There's about 50 people in the program, I think, right now as well. And so what we're doing is we're really focusing on making high quality content. We're even analyzing like Seinfeld episodes, right? So Seinfeld, what he does is at the beginning of his episodes, he does stand up for a minute to set the stage, right? And then he builds. And then there's a climax, and then he does, at the end of the show, he does stand up again for a second or two. And then there's a big uptick. So we're studying that very, very closely, doing a ton of work on it. I think my first vlog in a while will come out on Tuesday. It's going to be called Wall Street Pro Reacts to Billions, right? The TV show. And then I've also recorded 2 others that we're working on editing. The Billions one is done. We're just looking at positioning and when to publish it. The other ones I published, or I already recorded, are Wall Street Pro Reacts to The Wolf of Wall Street and Wall Street Pro Reacts to the movie Wall Street. So we're going to see how that does. And it's a fun way for me to teach as well, because I teach you finance lessons. I teach you finance lessons based on movies, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. So we're going to be creating a lot less content, but it's going to be insanely great quality. Yeah, and longer too. Yeah. But I'll still be creating courses, please. I'm not stopping anything. I'm working twice as hard, if anything, behind the scenes. Yeah. All right. Okay. And I think that Billions vlog is going to drop on Tuesday. Yeah. All right. And then. Okay. And then Kelsier said, will the IMF or the Fed help? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. If it's Japan, it's probably because Japan's first world country and doesn't have that many financial problems, relatively speaking. It won't be the Fed, might be the U.S. government. Yeah. Because it's very strategic as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Maris wrote, hi, Chris and all. Related to S&P investments from Europe, what I asked last week, the ticker I was looking at, it was VUAA.L. Even though it's in the UK and not in EU, it's the only one I have in Interactive Brokers. Yeah. And I'm not sure what the answer is there. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything. My mentor, thank you. God bless you forever and ever and ever. When you come to India, I'll get you at the airport with a large nose, like me. Dude, I beat you in the nose category, man. This thing is huge. During COVID, when I wear my mask outdoors, a lot more women would look at me. I was like, oh, dude, is it my hair? It's not my hair. It's my nose. Then when I take my mask off, they're like, oh, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. But when I see you in India, okay, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the airport, okay, together. I don't care where we are in the country. We're gonna go to one of the airports, and we're gonna go to Punjabi Grill, and we're gonna get dosa, because the best dosa I've ever eaten is Punjabi Grill. at the, where was it? It was the Mumbai and the Delhi airports. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Eric wrote, I might be getting hired, oh, congrats, for a new job where I can learn SolidWorks machine design. Yeah, I play around with SolidWorks and CNC milling. I'm frustrated that I might not get paid well, but it seems like a good experience. The company has a good culture with great customer satisfaction. I could learn how best to run my own company one day. Awesome. And Eric, because you're in the Silver program, what I do is every Thursday, as you know, from 10 until 11, we do a Zoom call with Silver, students only. So, and I know you're on that call usually. Just ask me if you want during that call today to go through your LinkedIn profile and humbly help you with it as well to sell yourself. Yeah. And for those of you in the Gold and Platinum program, our weekly office hours is every Thursday from 11:20 is 2 hours, 11:20 until 1:20. And then we do one-on-ones. And we do one-on-ones also on Monday, Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Reach India, who wrote, do you suggest to invest in startups which also are allowed to invest through Bitcoin and USDT or Tether? Yeah. It all depends. It's a tough question for me to answer because whenever I invest in startups, it's all about the management team. I'd always rather invest in an A management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. And the reason I say that is because ideas are commodities, but execution is not. And because when you're in a high growth, new risky sector like tech or cryptos, whatever it is, the business model is going to change always. And I always want to make sure I'm investing in somebody that can get me excited about whatever it is they're selling. They will pivot. They all pivot. Yeah. Yeah. Even YouTube. Like YouTube started out as a dating website and they pivoted. But one of the reasons they were so successful is because the management team, Chad, and I met him actually at a restaurant not too long ago here. He's a great manager, and he and his management team came from PayPal, and the PayPal mafia runs the Valley. You know, a lot of the best executives in the Valley came from PayPal, and so Elon Musk came from PayPal. Peter Thiel as well. Reid Hoffman, who's co-founder of LinkedIn. The founders of YouTube came from there as well. The founder of Yelp, Stolperman, came from there as well. And so what happens is in venture capital, if you're a great manager and you can sell and you come from a great company to a great startup, it's easier for you to raise money. And that's one of the reasons why YouTube has made it and many of those other aforementioned companies have. Remember, the jockey's always more important than the horse. All right, next up we got Ajay, or AJ. Please let me know how to pronounce it. I have friends that are Ajay and AJ. And Ajay wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're doing great. Thank you. Likewise. After a long time attending the session, it's great to have you back. You wrote, thank you for staying consistent for so long. Thank you. I'm consistently bad, but I'm consistent. I'm 26, and this is my first time I'm experiencing a recession. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. And I'm seeing it too. Look, we're all seeing it. My MBA program is growing like crazy. It's awesome. But my online courses, like everybody that does online courses, it's been nuclear winter. And I'm just so grateful to God that I started this. And again, this is doing well. But it's really hard. And one of the reasons why online everything is tough, you know, Netflix, streaming, etc., is because now people are going outdoors because COVID is over. Everyone's going on vacation. COVID is not over, but you know what I'm getting at. It's less bad than it used to be. Also, there are many different streaming alternatives out there, like Disney Plus, Paramount streaming, etc. A lot more competition. And there's other reasons too. And we're in a recession. Yeah. It's rough, man. It's rough. Hang in there. The best time to start a company is during a recession. And that's why I'm doubling down right now. I'm investing more right now than I've ever invested in my company because nobody else is. Everyone's running away. This is when you do it. You start companies in recession because you're lean and mean, you're running scared. And once GDP starts growing, your revenue takes off and you're lean and the leverage goes right to the bottom line. Yeah. But I feel you, man. It is tough. It is tough. And for those of you that are working at companies and you're worried about losing your job, as many of my students are right now because times are tough, what I want you to do, and this will help you not lose your job, what I want you to do is every 3 months, I want you to sit down with your boss, okay? And I want you to ask your boss for feedback. You start off with, if genuinely true, you know, I love this team. We've accomplished so much together, and we can accomplish so much more. And I wanted to ask you, this is you pretend to talk to your boss. What do I need to, how much more value do I need to add to the team in order to eventually get a promotion or a raise longer term? Because as you know, it's expensive to raise a family here in the Bay Area, and I want to add much more value to the company. And they'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And they'll give you feedback as well on what you're doing wrong. And if you do that every 3 months, right, that way you won't be blindsided if and when reductions come. Okay, and the way it works at a lot of companies, like when I worked at Goldman Sachs, I worked at Goldman after 9/11. A ton of my friends got let go after 9/11. It was awful, right? But what happens is this. Management of publicly traded companies, management will approach the manager on each team, and they'll say, we need one head on each team. And what will happen is it's a tough decision for the manager, obviously. But if you ask for feedback every 3 months from your boss, the likelihood that you're that person that's selected to go will go down. Also, don't trust anyone ever if you're ever planning on leaving a company or thinking about going to law school for some crazy reason or whatever it is. Don't tell anybody. Even if it's your friend at a company, right? Unless it's like your lifelong friend forever. Because when push comes to shove, you never know behind closed doors what people might say. And as Andy Grove said, the co-founder of Intel, God bless him, passed away, only the paranoid survive. Yeah. Okay. Now, what should be the mindset of investing during this difficult time, meaning a recession? Yeah, it should be the exact same mindset as always, which is you're a long-term investor, right? We don't try to day trade because nobody makes money day trading. Otherwise, we know their names. They don't exist. And just be very long-term focused. And now is the time to lick your chops and do a lot of investment research, roll up your sleeves, do a lot of investment research on companies. And when you look to invest in companies, I want you to look at fundamentals and valuation and technicals in that order. And I have a ton of spreadsheets I probably showed you guys before in previous webcasts that are in my MBA degree program that will help you do investment research to learn how to invest in any type of company. Do the work always. And I want you to be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. Of course, that's a great quote from the Sage of Omaha, Warren Buffett. Be a contrarian and watch your net worth take off. Because if you buy the same stock everybody else is buying during a bull market when the market's doing well, there's not that many incremental investors to buy it to push it higher. And Warren Buffett said the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. Think about that. It's deadly. People are so emotional about stocks all the time. You have to be unemotional about business in order to prosper. And so Elon Musk, for example, is very unemotional. That's one of the reasons he's successful. In fact, he bought a ton of shares in Tesla in March of 2020. Remember how crazy the market was then? It was down a lot. The price of oil was negative at that point temporarily. It was crazy. He was unemotional. He bought shares in Tesla. And then late last year, late in 2021, before the market peaked in January 2022, he sold a ton of shares in Tesla. You just have to be a contrarian. But I also want you to think longer term. And I want you to ask yourself before investing in any company, I want you to ask yourself one basic question. In 5 years, will this company or the sector it's in be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And that will stop you from getting seduced from buying value traps, meaning tech companies like Research Emotion or Yahoo in the past that were cheap. They're cheap for a reason. Once a tech company starts becoming a little bit less relevant, it's game over. It's game over. Turnarounds don't work in tech. Maybe once per decade if a founder comes back like Steve Jobs, God bless him, did. But I want you to be very, very long-term focused. And I want you to value companies based on your earnings estimates, based on the financial modeling I teach in my MBA program. I want you to value companies based on your earnings estimates in 5, 10, or 15 years from now. And that way you could say, hey man, this stock is cheap at only 3 times my earnings estimates in 10 years. Whereas everybody else will say, no, it's crazy. It's 100 times this year's earnings. Who cares about this year's earnings? You got to be long-term focused. And don't try to invest in companies where you make just, a couple percent upside or 10% upside. If you're going to do investment research on companies, I want you to look for 5x5s, meaning companies that might have a 500% return within 5 years. You can find them. I've done it before. You just got to roll up your sleeves and do the work. And I provide you with all the templates you need to make this possible. But you always have to do the work. And when I say you, I'm talking to all students, myself included, because nobody is smarter than you. And don't rely on anybody, including me, in terms of telling you what to buy or what to sell. Don't watch television and watch these people that speak gooder than us, whatever, on television telling us what to buy. There's a bias there. And if you listen to them, you'll panic at the worst time. Always do your own research. And again, I provide you with all the templates to do so. Okay. All right. Reach India said, what is the best way to sell an NFT valued at $500,000? I don't know. I have no idea. You could probably, like, I've looked and done a lot of research using Wax, okay, which is a crypto I use to buy and sell baseball cards. It all depends on the sector, okay? You can also look at eBay as well, okay? Now, if you own that, you can also contact Sotheby's, okay? Sotheby's, big auction house, right? They'll do the work for you as well. They'll probably keep 100 grand of it, but they'll help you find a buyer. Yeah, I would go to Sotheby's. Yeah, and I know they're looking into it because they almost hired one of my students named Todd Martin last year, who graduated from the Platinum program, to head up their NFT division. They do a lot of work in that area. Yeah, reach out to Todd Martin as well if you want to. Do a search on him on LinkedIn. He's a great guy, and I interviewed him on my YouTube webcast. One of my MBA students last year. You can search my YouTube channel for Todd Martin. Yeah, and then contact him as well. He's a good dude. Yeah, and he's a guy that created. I don't know if you guys ever watched sports highlights replays. Whenever you see the tail of the tape or a ball has got like this graphic behind it, he created that. Yeah. All right. Cool. And Kelsier, thank you for those comments as well. That's helpful to other students. I appreciate it. Thanks. All right. Give me 1 second here. And what I might do is I might open up Zoom in a minute or two. Give me 1 second here. Oh, Christina, how are you? Christina Hong lives here in South San Francisco with her wonderful husband, Christian, and their incredible daughter, Isabella, who's in the third grade now, I think, right? Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And she and her husband graduated last year from the Platinum program. They're great. Christina, thank you so much for setting up the graduation last year. You're the best. You're a lifesaver. I literally would have died if you didn't help me. I was so jammed with stuff. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And Christina also is the head of the Haroun Education Ventures MBA alumni department as well. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that and being our fearless leader. And so Christina wrote, good morning, Chris, and our amazing weekly webcast and global MBA family. I love our network. We got great students. Yeah. And by the way, little side note, for those of you thinking about doing platinum or gold, I have one rule, which is this, and I've never had this problem with students. On day one, I mentioned that there's a no bullying policy because everybody's opinion can be heard. Yeah. And I have had conversations with some people, just doing one-on-ones, and I've convinced them it may not be a good fit. Yeah. Okay. Everyone's opinion is important. So Christina wrote here, hope you're having an outstanding week so far. I am. Thank you. Cheers, Chris. I'm at 9 a.m. at only 400 steps. How about you? In terms of water, I'm at about 9. In terms of steps, and I wear my Apple Watch in my pocket because I type a lot when I'm taking steps. Yesterday I got a ton in. Today is not so good yet. Only 164 steps, yeah. But I'll get there, yeah. All right. All right, next up, Yosuke wrote, hi, Chris. Greetings from Japan. Hajime mashite. Nice to meet you. And I did a lot of actually banking work in Japan when I worked at Goldman. So I was a grunt. The first IPO I worked on was NTT Docomo. This here's the prospectus of it. That was back in October, I think, of 1998. It was the biggest IPO in history then when the Japanese government was selling off NTT Docomo. 9437 is the ticker. And then we did another deal where we were selling off NTT stake as well from the Japanese government. But how are you, man? It's great to see you. Good to meet you. You wrote, do you have or are you planning to have bond-specific investment course? I'm using some HY, meaning high yield bonds, and their indices as edges, but I feel my knowledge is limited. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. No, the extent of me teaching that is we analyze the yield curve in a lot of detail, and then we look at a couple of government bond funds as well, AAA rated funds, as well as corporate bond related funds as well. And I will touch upon that more so when I add more stuff on real estate to the MBA program as well. We do talk briefly about junk bonds, or the politically correct name is high yield bonds right now. But I won't go into the whole process of teaching people how to value it, that sort of thing. But I do use real life examples of coupon bonds and no coupon bonds. I have real examples of Disney's corporate bonds from France when they built Disney Europe. years ago, which was very controversial in the 80s. I also have examples of Russian bonds I teach about from, right before the Russian Revolution, 1917, and then a bunch of U.S. government bonds as well, real ones from 1945 used to fund World War II. Yeah. But I won't go into creating spreadsheets on valuing them and stuff. But I do teach a lot about discounted cash flow, weighted average cost of capital, that sort of thing, which of course is a big component when you're calculating the valuation of value of bonds, right? In terms of DCF side or future value of cash, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right. Good to see you. I'd love to have you join though. Okay, next up, Tenzil wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're doing well. Likewise. My question is, how do you deal with pressure before a business meeting? Yeah. So what I do, and this is just me, is I don't get stressed out by anything business related or work related. I always tell myself God already knows what's going to happen, which puts me at ease. And we overstress about work, man. We all do it. And the only time we're supposed to really feel stressed out in life and our heart is racing is when, historically we're being chased by, a cheetah or something. We're not supposed to feel this stress at work. We do it to ourselves always. And it was Winston Churchill once said, I once met a man who on his deathbed talked about all the worries he had in his life, none of which came true. And Dale Carnegie said, it's not work that kills us, it's worry. And things are never as bad as they seem, from a career perspective, ever. In fact, if you have a setback in your career, and you might not understand this now, and I certainly didn't at the time, but if you have a setback in your career, it might be a blessing. And you might look back upon that setback or failure years from now and say, thank God that happened. God has a plan for all of us. So don't ever worry or stress about that sort of thing. Yeah. Oh, and right before the meeting starts, Tenzil, what I want you to do is, and of course, prepare for it and all that stuff. And I provide you with all the templates to prepare for everything, including presentations, meetings, etc. in my MBA program. But right before it starts, I want you to tell yourself this in your head. I want you to tell yourself, I don't care how this meeting goes. I just don't care. I'm just going to be me. Because your friends and family love you for being you. I'm just going to be me. And the problem with interviewing as well is we get so damn nervous before an interview, And then we're just not ourselves and we don't get the job. And I remember years ago, I went on this awful cold streak where I couldn't get a job and I prepared like crazy. And I was so frustrated. I just showed up one day to an interview, and right before it, I told myself, I don't give a damn if I don't get this job. I don't care. And I was just relaxed. I was just myself. We talked about. I remember it well. We talked about baseball in the meeting and stuff I was passionate about. These are the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah. And I got that job because I was just myself. I didn't care. It's like dating. If you're really careful around somebody when you're trying to ask them out and stuff, it's not going to work. You have to have this kind of essence of, I just don't care. I'm not saying be rude or abrasive, but just tell yourself that you don't give a damn if you're going to get it or not. What a beautiful day. Huh? Yeah. And that will put you at ease as well. But for me, it's a prayer always, because God already knows what's going to happen, which sets me at ease. Okay. Okay, and I don't understand this question. Kelsey wrote, Chris, you give a YouTube short on you will keep Shopify, though it goes down 80%. Yeah. Somebody asked me about Shopify. I did YouTube short on it, and I said the company basically will be more relevant in the long run. And that was recently too. Yeah. Do your own research always. Yeah. And then he wrote, and hedge fund Tiger also have the same choice with you, but why? Yeah. So I'm not sure what Tiger is thinking. I don't even know if they really own it. Julian Robertson, God bless me, passed away yesterday. 90-year-old founder of Tiger. Yeah. You might be thinking about Tiger Global, which is a Tiger Cub, which Chase Coleman's company. Yeah. Always do your own research, please. And I've not done research on Shopify. And I'm not telling you whether to buy or sell it. Yeah. All right. All right. Next up, Digital Edwin. I like that name. DE wrote, hey, Chris, greetings from Nairobi, Kenya. Awesome. Always a fan, and thanks for your commitment. I love your content so much. Thank you. And I was in Rwanda last summer, and I wanted to go to Kenya. We just didn't have time. Kills me. But actually, our next school we're building is in Kenya. In honor of Leah Koros, who's the mother of Marin, one of my platinum students from a year or two ago. Yeah, and we're just about done. The school we built with my platinum student Vital from a couple of years ago, MBA student in Rwanda. Yeah, so we're just now putting in the computers, but this year, cut the tape. Yeah, and maybe Paul Kagan will go to cut it with us. We don't know yet. We'll see. Probably not. It's worth asking. Carolyn, how are you? Great to see you. Great to see you. Carolyn, she's from Paris or from France. She's lives in Ontario now. She's in my silver program, and she started a crepe company. And she's got 2 cats named Mimi and Mumu. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Okay. Next up, we got Peter, who is from Romania, I think, right? Who wrote, hey, Chris, how can I understand the information from your courses more easily? I love them, and they're packed with knowledge, but sometimes I have a hard time understanding new concept. Thanks. Yeah. So in my MBA program, everything has been recorded from scratch, 4K multiple camera angles. Everything you see is 1080 though, but we future-proofed it all. I haven't had any complaints at all about topics in my MBA program. If you have questions in any of the courses, you can always type a question. Somebody will answer it for you. It's not me. But in the MBA program, I'm there for you as well. Yeah. There's also captions in all my courses too. That might help. Yeah. And you can even ask me here if you have questions. And then Peter wrote, also, what do you think about the movie The Pursuit of Happyness and the famous Wolf of Wall Street? Thanks so much. Have a great day. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So in terms of the Wolf of Wall Street movie, it's about this guy Jordan Belfort, who's a criminal, who's scammed a lot of money out of investors in OTC stocks, meaning over-the-counter stocks that are too crappy to be listed on major markets. He also did a big IPO of Steve Madden, and got in a little bit of trouble for that as well. Yeah, the problem is, though, that people tend to start to worship this guy. Like a lot of people, like younger people are like, I want to go to Wall Street because of that movie. It's kind of like my generation. People said, I want to go work on Wall Street because of the movie Wall Street in 1987 with Gordon Gekko, Michael Douglas. Yeah. It's crazy, yeah. But it's a great movie, and I did a very long vlog on it. Actually, not very long. It's about 20 minutes. And Matt is editing it right now, and we're going to be releasing it probably in a couple of weeks. Business and finance lessons from the Wolf of Wall Street, and that series is called Wall Street Pro Reacts 2. Yeah. In terms of Pursuit of Happyness, I love the movie, especially because Will Smith's in it with his son, his real son in real life. And there's a speech there where he tells his son, don't let anyone ever tell you what you can and can't do. When you see something in life, you take it, you go for it. Yeah, and it's a real story actually. And the dude that Will Smith is based on that movie, at the very end of the movie, Will Smith is walking with his son at the top of San Francisco in an area called Pacific Heights, and he turns around to look at this guy, and this guy walking is the real guy in real life. It's based on. Yeah. It kills me what Will Smith did, though, to Chris Rock. And good for Chris Rock for turning the other cheek. Yeah, it kills me. And I was listening to Will Smith's book, actually, on the Audible version, which he narrates himself. And I loved it. And I had about 15 minutes. It's like 16 hours or something. I had about 15 minutes left. And I can't finish it after that shot heard around the world. Yeah. Breaks my heart. Yeah. But I do enjoy that movie. Okay. And it's interesting because it wasn't planned. Some people think it was planned. It wasn't planned because Denzel Washington, who's a holy man, I love Denzel. He's a religious man. He's a good man. Everything about him is great. His speeches are great too. Denzel walked up to Will Smith during the commercial break after Will Smith hit poor Chris Rock, and Denzel said to him, you got to be careful, Will, because the devil tempts you right when you're at the peak of your game, right? So he gave him some advice there as well, and yeah, just a really unfortunate situation, yeah. But he'll bounce back. Okay. Next up, Sadiq wrote, I got a job as a consultant at a top 10 M&A consulting firm in India. Congratulations. And one of my students just got a job about a month ago at McKinsey as well. Very happy for him. And then you wrote, I'm in the valuations team. Finally appreciate all the inputs you share. Congratulations, man. I'm very happy for you. Very happy for you. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. And then Peter, who I think is from Romania, wrote one more thing. I just love your blue shirt, your blue suit and shirt. Thanks. I wasn't sure, dude, because when I came down here at first, I thought maybe I should. It's too much blue, and so I went like this, and then I'm like, nah, F that, screw that. F that means forget that, and I went all blue. Yeah, F that means forget that. And I remember years ago, I wrote in an email to my family, and I wrote WTF. And my mom asked me, oh, honey, what is WTF? Right, that's what my mom sounds like. No, shit. And I said, oh, Mom, it stands for why the face. And then she was playing bridge with her buddies. And every now and then she'd say, WTF. And her friends were like, Jackie. Yeah, her name is Jackie. Her friends call her Jack, except on an airplane. Because, they don't want to say hi, Jack. Yeah. I'm going to shut up with my awful dad humor today. It's terrible, or as Charles Barkley says, just terrible. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. All right, next up we got Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for signing up for my YouTube channel. You click the join button there. You've got the cool little icon as well, which is fun. So Michelle wrote, I named my dog Finnegan as after a puppet in the show, Mr. Dress Up. Yeah, that's right. And my mom, Miss Finnegan, that's how she named the puppet as well. Was from that show, Mr. Dress Up. That's right. That's right, Mr. Dress Up. That's right. Oof, I love my mama. She's the best. And I remember I couldn't really read that well when I was younger. And she used to, it was the 5th grade. It was a book, Tom and the Midnight Garden. And she recorded herself, her entire voice, reading it on audio tape. And I listened to it as well. I remember that. Thank you, Mom. Mom, I appreciate everything you did. Yeah. And my dad, too. You're both cool. Yeah. You're like parents to me. Yeah. Okay. They never gave up hope in me, even though the teachers did. Yeah. Probably why I teach now. Okay. Next up, Caroline who, from Ontario, Canada, wrote, hi, Chris. I'm listening to your webcast on our way to Tatamagush. Am I saying that right? Tatamagush, Nova Scotia. We're getting married. Oh, congratulations! Mazel tov. I'm happy for you, man. That is awesome, Carol. I'm very happy for you. Very happy for you. Very lucky man as well. Yeah. Very happy for you. Awesome. And on our next Zoom webcast, just the silver one. You probably can't do it this week. So you're getting married. But show me pictures, please. I want to see it. And I know you're a big fan of yachting as well. I'm sure there's boating involved as well. But congratulations. Very happy for you. Okay, next up we got Viveki wrote, hi, Krish. Do you have any programs for kids to build financial acumen over a period of time in the very simplest way? Yeah, I think I probably did a number of vlogs on that. Just do a search on kids finance or something. Yeah. But get your kids involved too. Like, explain to them that, if they go out and buy Beats by Dre headset for $300, that's actually $30,000 if they keep it in the bank for 20 years or so. And, every virtual gem they spend on video games could be worth 20 times more if they didn't spend it. So teach them about time value of money. What I also did with my kids when they bought their first iPhones, I don't want to be that entitled parent that gives it away to them. They had to earn it, man. So what we did was we actually imported hundreds of iPhone cases, right? It was a different brand from AliExpress.com. And then we sold them over eBay, right? And so we sold them for $9.99 and our profit margin was $5. And so my kids had to sell 200 each to get an iPhone. And so after they sold each one over eBay, they would just print out the shipping label, put it on the package, take it up the driveway. I got a long driveway, put it in the mailbox, put the flag up. And they sold it everywhere. It was amazing. And then they go to the fridge. And on the fridge, there was a spreadsheet with little boxes. And they had to put a square in these boxes. And when they did that 500 times, when they did that 500 times? No, it's 200 times. When they did that 200 times at $5 a pop, then they got their iPhone. Yeah. But I'll show you where I went, right? And it's kind of like drop shipping people talk about, or import, export, whatever. I'm not an expert in it, but I did this way. So what you do is you go to AliExpress, okay? And I think the market's more efficient now. You can't do this as much, but AliExpress is owned by Alibaba, as many of you know, and you can do the same thing here, right? So you get whatever. If you want to buy something in bulk, you can do it and then sell it in bulk, right? So, for example, right here, it's crazy, and I think the Chinese government subsidizes the shipping here as well, right? So, right here, I don't know, you want to sell these glasses, okay? So you look at it, you can get this for a penny, right? And I'm sure there's strings attached there. You can order a ton of them, the quantity, yeah, one at most per customer. Let me find something a little bit more realistic. All right, let's go to, and I want to find something that's ridiculously on sale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top here, and I'm going to search for, I don't know, case, like an iPhone case or something. Oh, there it is, yeah. All right, so let's say I want to sell this case here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look to see how many we can order. Okay, quantity. Well, let me change it. It must be a special. But there's ones where you can buy tons of them, like tons of them if you wanted to, for like 80 cents each. And then once you do that, let me scroll down here and find this. Okay. All right, let's go here. And don't do anything that's got a logo on it that you can't use, okay? But let's try this. Okay, so let's buy it for the iPhone Pro Max, and then you could buy a ton. There's ways to buy these in bulk, right, for only $2 or $3 each, and then you can sell for more. Make sure it doesn't have the logo of Apple on it, though, right? But take a look through here if you want to, and do a search on my YouTube channel on eBay, and I did plenty of case studies on this over the years, yeah. That wasn't the best answer, but I'm trying. All right. All right. Next up. Okay. And by the way, Vivek, what you can do is, like, the way that my son got interested in civil engineering, which is what he's doing now at Berkeley, is we were on vacation, and I brought my laptop, and I love video games, so I was playing SimCity, and so he started playing SimCity, and then he really enjoyed it. And so that's what he's doing now. So imagine that, finding your passion by playing a video game. So they can learn a lot about bonds and fiscal management, income statements, etc. by playing SimCity. Try it out. It's great. It's fun. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Carolyn wrote, have you heard about the Chinese crypto yuan created by the Chinese government? I have. Yeah. The problem with that, though, is that the Chinese government, it's not a true and pure crypto. Crypto in the sense where there's notoriety included, because the government can trace every single transaction and who bought it from where. So it's like policing, kind of like how in China they can recognize hundreds of millions of faces now with facial recognition. So it's really Orwellian, kind of creeps me out. Okay, and that's always a knock on Beijing, not my friends in China. Okay, I'm not a fan of communism. I'm not a fan of anything that limits my students' potential in terms of how much they can progress. Yeah. All right. And then Olu Tuller wrote, hello, Chris. How are you, man? Oh, Rawlings, it's been a while. How are you? Rawlings is from Nigeria, and I think I connected you with one of my students, Kemi Tade, who's from Nigeria in Ottawa. She's great. She's fantastic. She just had a baby boy as well. She's got a beautiful girl, beautiful boy, and her family, they're laughing. Life is great for them. So Rollins wrote, hello, Prof. What is your opinion on Elon's taking a U-turn on Twitter's purchase? Is it likely that Twitter could win? I don't know now, because there's allegations that the head of security at Twitter, he's a whistleblower now. He left the company. We don't know why. And he's basically saying that, Twitter does a lot of unethical things from a privacy perspective. So I don't know, and I don't know if what Elon is saying has merit with respect to Twitter subscribers being overstated, because a lot of them are bots. If he's right, he's got a case. If not, it's up to the courts. Yeah. Either way, he got a lot of free publicity. And you'll notice that Tesla doesn't you've never seen a Tesla commercial. It's brilliant, because in order to buy a Toyota car, you have to see like 20 commercials first. And companies like Coca-Cola, so Coca-Cola has $40 billion in annual revenues, and they spend 10% of that, which is $4 billion a year in advertising. Well, Elon Musk doesn't have to spend that 10% of revenue on advertising because he is controversial. And controversy is a great way to market your company. Like for me, I could say, don't go to Harvard Business School, HBS, Harvard Business School, HBS. Don't go to Harvard Business School because 2/3 is BS. You can say that about Haroun Business School too. But here's one thing you can't say about Harvard Business School. People say heroin sometimes. When I was growing up, people can't pronounce my name. They say heroin. It's Haroun. And it rhymes with baboon. You'll never forget it now. Okay. Next, it looks like we're not going to have time today for Zoom. But if you're in my silver program, just go to the first lecture in the curriculum, and I'll see you at 10 a.m., which is in 12 minutes. And we'll do Zoom there as well if you want. Yeah. Okay. And then Eric wrote, it would be very helpful if there were a printed workbook I could purchase for the MBA course. Yeah. I have a book as well. I made it, but don't buy it. Yeah, there's nothing. Everything is digital, right? There's hundreds of downloads that are PDF based, also Word based, and Google Docs based in the program. Yeah. But what I'm doing actually is I'm in the process of adding a new way to get information in the MBA program by searching. I'll show you real quick here, okay? So if we go to, and I've got a brand new website actually that is going to be launched hopefully later this month. But I'll show you here for my courses, okay? So, and this is not perfected yet, but here, if you do a search on something like say stock, So you'll see here within YouTube, there's tons of videos on every time I mention the word stock. But what's also going to happen is with silver, you'll click here, and this is not indexed yet. Okay. September MBA class, click here. June, January, and maybe the past couple of years as well. And it'll go directly there as well. Yeah. Now, earlier somebody asked about kids. So I think I did something. SimCity. SimCity. See if it comes up on my YouTube channel. It indexes my YouTube channel properly here. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, here you go. Use this video game and teach your kids about business. And so this is how I teach about business. All of us to learn about business. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to take a very, very quick break, and this will teach you how to, how to teach your kids about business using video games. Okay, I'll be right back, and thank you, everybody. And real estate and bonds. The most funnest way for kids and all of us to learn about business and real estate and bonds is by playing my favorite video game of all time, SimCity. And my son, Andrew, actually just found his passion in life as we went on vacation, and I introduced him to SimCity on my Mac, and he wants to work in construction or architecture now. And I'll show you the game we set up in a second. It's a lot of fun. The beauty of playing SimCity is you get an appreciation for the three most important to keep in mind when doing when looking to invest in real estate. And those three things are as follows: location, location, and location. And I'm working on a complete real estate course coming out soon. Also, by playing SimCity, it introduces us to the concept of budgeting and debt financing through issuing bonds. It's a blast. Now, right here, we just got awarded a space station as well, which piqued Andrew's interest actually in space architecture as well. And you can actually set up, as you can see here, a bunch of different cities, and they trade with each other as well. So it introduces you to international trade. Yeah, sorry for the shaky camera here, but you can actually go through the entire city. And this came out in 2013, this product. I absolutely love it. Here's where you can budget, and here's where you can actually buy bonds, issue bonds. Okay, so it's pretty cool. And I'm certainly not managing a balanced budget there at all. So it's so much fun. Now, the version of SimCity I recommend is this version here I'm showing you that was released way back in 2013 by the Maxis subsidiary of Electronic Arts. And that's me bulldozing some opera house, I think, yeah. Now, Maxis was the best video game company, and EA bought the firm, and they destroyed the SimCity brand, and they actually shut down Maxis entirely, which is heartbreaking. And EA, if you're watching this, I'm begging you to please make another SimCity game. Yeah, and I'm going to go here to another city I made and show you that we trade back and forth between these cities. It can introduce your kids to international trade. It's pretty cool. So what happens is this with EA and other big tech companies. Often when large tech firms make acquisitions, after a while innovation dies in the companies they buy, especially when the founder of the company they purchase quits. And the founder always quits, or almost always does, after a year because they can't take the bureaucracy. And usually in the contract, when they got to acquire their company, they have to stay for at least a year. And little side note, this is me budgeting on another city with bonds and all that fun stuff. And I'm not running a balanced budget there. I'm an awful teacher. A little off topic here, but at one point, Hewlett-Packard was the 5th biggest software company in the world as they made so many software acquisitions. And we used to joke in the hedge fund industry that Hewlett-Packard is where software companies go to die. So EA, please hire back the Maxis founder, Will Wright, who I met before he's a rock star, and let him make another SimCity game. Now, when you play this game, SimCity, you're building a business, meaning a city, and it gets kids interested in so many aspects of business and maybe even programming and user design and real estate creation as well. Another way to teach kids about business using a game is through Clash of Clans. And I've been playing this game with my kids almost every day for about 4 years now. And in the game, what you do is you have to budget, okay? You have to budget and save up virtual gems to buy buildings and upgrades. And you're also cognizant of competitive barriers to entry because you're building city walls. And you actually learn how to manage other people through what are called clan wars when you work with other people. Yeah. Now, if you have any suggestions on games that kids can play to learn about business, then please write them in the comments field. Thank you. All right. You are your own worst enemy. Stay with me here. That's the next video. All right. Thanks, guys, for letting me take that quick break. Let me put the mic back. This here is I got the idea from Seth Rogen. It's a Shure microphone. So let's put it out of shot here. I pulled it down so you guys can hear the speaker. All right. Excellent. All right, guys. So I've got to wrap this up in a minute. I'll take one or two more quick questions. Again, if you're in my my silver MBA program, what you can do is go to the first lesson in the curriculum, and I'll see you at 10 a.m. for a 1-hour Zoom. If you're in my gold or platinum program, I'll see you at 11:20 for 2 hours, and then we got one-on-ones. Yeah. All right. All right. Let me see here. I'll pick a couple of random ones. Let's scroll down here. All right. Okay. So JD wrote, "Good afternoon, Chris. Love your course in Udemy. They're amazing." No, thank you. I appreciate that. Udemy's been a great partner. And then thank you. Pride. Hey, Pride. How are you? Pride wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hey. If two companies are in a contract, are there things to watch out for as contracts are coming to an end? Do parties usually try some shenanigans as contracts come to an end, and in what way?" Yeah. It is so complicated. Always have a lawyer look that over, okay? And let me answer this more generically for everybody on this call. If you just joined a company, and it's not a big company, like it's medium or small sized, and you're given an employment contract, I want you, please, get a lawyer to review that contract. It's going to cost you a bunch, but you need to do it, okay, just to protect you. I remember years ago, I worked in venture capital. There's 3 of us in the firm, and I hired a law firm to review my contract. And in the contract, it said, I spent like $7,000 on the legal fees. It was brutal, but it saved me millions. In the contract, it said, if one of our companies goes public or gets harvested, you'll get paid out. But it didn't specify when. So it could be in like 100 years. And so my lawyer changed it, and we fixed it, thank God. And by the way, when somebody gives you a legal contract, and some of the terms in the contract are unfair, it's not the person giving you the contract that's being a jerk. It's the lawyer, okay? Lawyers, it's just what they do. They protect who, it's kind of like if you get cut off on the road by a taxi driver, the person in the back of that taxi, as long as there was an accident, is happy because they're getting there faster. So, a jerk lawyer can be like a jerk taxi driver getting you somewhere in a hurry. Don't be offended, but still get a lawyer to review all the paperwork yourself. Always, please. Please, please, please. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up today's call. I know there's a bunch more questions. If you're in my silver MBA program, ask me at 10 today. If you're in my gold or platinum, ask me today at 11:20 or during class on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If anybody is interested in upgrading to my next gold and platinum class, please go to harounmba.com. And I'll show you guys here just really quickly, and I'll wrap this up. But if we go here to harounmba.com, you'll see here, if you scroll down, there's details on my MBA program. And the next one here starts, this here is like Netflix, you can start today. Gold and Platinum, the next one starts Friday, September 30th, okay? And it's going to be every Friday for 1 year from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. my time. You'll see a pop-up here as well, and you can schedule a one-on-one call with me if you want to discuss just gold or platinum. Oh, wow, looks like we're out of times this month, yeah. But you can start booking them for next month if you want to. Now, one more thing I'll mention is that if you go to my website, Haroun MBA here, Har. All right, I'll type the whole damn thing. Here we go, harounmba.com. When you're here, if you mouse over here, you can go to all my courses and MBA program to buy here, or you go here to September Gold and Platinum MBA program here. If you go here to September 30th Gold and Platinum, you can read more about the FAQs on the program, watch videos about the program, and also you can click here to set up a one-on-one meeting with me just to discuss the Gold and Platinum program. So I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for joining our 100, see if I can find my page here. Thank you for joining our 197th weekly webcast. God bless you all. Have a blessed and wonderful weekend. Don't stress out about things too much, please, especially your career, because God already knows what's going to happen. I love all of you, and I can't wait to see you all next Thursday and every Thursday forever at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you, and have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you. And thank you, Kyril, for writing that right there as well. All right. Where's my end screen? Here it is here. All right, guys. Thanks.